I guess it was 37 years ago tonight was the day that Pelle Lindbergh had the accident. And I remember I still have newspaper clippings in this house that I live in right now somewhere of your stories when that whole thing went down and how close you were with his wife. Uh, what do you remember about that time?
Uh, it was horrible. It was like
I still
I
feel like
can't.
it's horrible in my mind's eye.
It was. y- People tell you you're not supposed to get that close to players when you cover them. I did. I thought I could be objective, but if I like somebody, I like somebody. They're nice people. Pele and I were very, very close, very good friends with, his fiance at the time. And he was supposed to be at my wedding. Ironically, he couldn't go because the day that car was arriving in Baltimore, being shipped. That's how much of that car. I stopped driving with him because I just couldn't. It was fast for me. And I know it's the drinking, and it was disgraceful. I mean, especially in Sweden, that had any alcohol at all. But we warned him time and again, like, Kelly, you just can't drive fast. You just can't. And he just loved it. When that happened, I was, I think, the third person at the hospital over in Jersey. First went to Cooper, and there were other people there, and they sent me to, I think it was Kennedy. And because I was so tight with he and his fiance, I was one of the few people in the room. They wheeled him past, and I remember the doctor telling telling his fiance, like, he's got this injury, that injury, shoulder, arm, and this was the bone surgeon. And she's looking at me, and like there's kind of a translation thing, and she goes, "Well, can he get over these things to play hockey again?" And he looked at me and goes, "She doesn't know." Because that the brain dead situation.
Yeah.
And like, no. So we then, Davey Poolman was there, and we kind of, everything was explained, and it was the most horrifying. When you're in your 20s, it's probably the first time most of us deal with somebody who dies. Um, and when you're with a team, it was like, is this real? Is this honestly going to happen? And then it was the first time that many of us in our 20s with that whole team realized that it's going to sound stupid, but when you die, you stay dead.
Yeah. You're
Because
not coming back.
well, yeah, I mean, it's like, well, you're athletes, and then like, is this a dream? Basically, like the reality doesn't hit you at first, because it's like all the stuff that goes on, like funerals. We're going to go to Sweden and do this and do that. It's like, oh my God, I've never gotten over it. And to this day, I mean, like, I'm going to go in the Hall of Fame, and I'm going to mention the fact that the Sedin twins are there and Alfredson's there. I feel is fitting, and Borja Salming's going to be there dealing with ALS now, because it was such an impactful moment in my life to have that happen. And it also made me cover teams as people. I don't like when players are covered as statistics or as cartoons. Um, I think they should be covered as people. And I'm not saying to be soft on a player, but I think the better stories are what makes somebody tick, how you got here, maybe why you screwed up, but the people. Like, I find the power of the sport is the people in the sport. So that was a big part of it, because when you know somebody that well and that happens, and you see what happens to the team, and you see the relationships that teammates have in that situation, and none of us have gotten over it. And it was at once the most horrifying, but also the most binding moment I think I've ever experienced in sports.